Alright, so on this picture, if we're asked to solve for x, what we can do is set up a proportion looking at the corresponding sides. So I'm going to highlight the sides that correspond to each other. So the 1 right here corresponds with the 5 because they're in the same location, just on. So the 1 corresponds with the 5 because they're in the same location, just on the other triangle. And then what we can do is we can look at the bottom side. So side AB corresponds to AD. So if I want to set up a proportion looking at the corresponding side, so I'll go ahead and list the actual letters for the line segment. So BC corresponds to DE, and then we have AB, and AB corresponds to AD. So now I'm going to set up the proportion with the numbers. So BC is 1, DE is 5, AB is X, and then AD would actually be 9 plus X, because it's the length of this entire bottom side right here. So it would be the whole thing, so you would be adding the side together. So what we could do is we could cross multiply. So 5 times x is 5x. That's equal to 1 times 9 plus x. And we know if we multiply anything by 1, it's just going to give you that number. So this is going to be 9 plus x. And then we can solve this equation by subtracting x from both sides. So we're left with 4x equals 9. And then I can divide both sides by 4. So x equals 9 divided by 4. And if you wanted to work it out, you can get you're going to get 2.2, no, not 2.2, sorry, 2.25. So let me do another example where the variable that we're solving for is in a different location. Alright, so the next example, we're solving for x, and x is the long side over here on the right. So again, I want to look at the corresponding sides. So I'm going to highlight the sides that correspond to each other. So CB corresponds to ED. And I'm going to again list the line segments that correspond to each other. So CB corresponds with ED. And there's multiple ways that you could set up this proportion. It looks like on the picture I accidentally left out the letter here. That should have been letter A. So again, you can set up the proportion several different ways. This is just one of the ways that I'm going to do it to solve. So CB has a length of 4. ED has a length of x, that's what we're solving for. And then AB is 6. AD again would be this entire bottom side, so you're having to do addition here. So that gives you 11. So now we could cross multiply. So we have 44 equals 6x, and then you can divide by 6 on both sides. And that's going to give you 7.3 repeating. Alright, and I want to draw one more example to show you, because this one is a little bit more challenging. So let me draw another example. So we have the triangle set up like this. And I wish I would have taken the picture because I know my drawing is not going to be the best. So this is 14, this is 5, 6, X. And let me list the letters that we have for the two triangles. I want you to also realize here that all of these examples that we're going over are similar triangles, because if you see where the 90-degree angles are, that means that those line segments have to be parallel to each other. So for example, I'm going to draw the arrow symbols here just to show you these are parallel. So if they're parallel, that means that this angle right here is congruent to this angle because they are corresponding angles. And then of course the two triangles have the 90-degree angle in common. So those two angles are congruent inside both of the triangles. So that means that if we have two congruent angles inside of the triangles, then the two triangles are similar to one another. Let me get rid of that yellow. Alright, so we're going to set up our proportion looking at the corresponding sides. So we have side BC corresponds to DE, and then we know that side AB corresponds to AD. So BC, I'm going to replace these with the actual length of the sides, and then DE is 14. And then we have AB, which is 6. And then this entire bottom side would be 6 plus X. So now I can cross multiply. And I'm going to do 14 times 6 equals 5 times 6 plus X. So you really have to remember what to do here with distribution. You distribute the 5 to both things that are inside of the parentheses, so that's 30 plus 5x. And then 14 times 6, so 6 times 4 is 24, and then that gives you 84. Alright, so now I can subtract 30 from both sides to solve. So now at this point we're just using algebra, really. So then we're going to divide by 5. And then 54 divided by 5. So let's see, that would go in one time, and then we have, it goes into 0 times, add a decimal, bring down a 0, so then that would be going into 48 times. So then x would be equal to 10.8. Alright, I hope that was helpful for you.